man. Jeff, it's wonderful to meet you, sir. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, you bet. So before we get in to your business world, I want to know 5 years ago, this pandemic was raging, changing our lives. Things were going all over the place. How did you survive the pandemic of 2020, and how is it stretched into your world in 2025 today?
I had a very good mentor, Ray Marone, when I first purchased my company that I own, NCK Equipment. He was the most positive person consistently that I ever met, really. He was known for that in a company, AdMix, which does mixing equipment. We do tanks, mixers, pumps into facilities that manufacture food, beverage, pharmaceutical. And when COVID hit, when it comes to work, I was living with my friend Eric. I remember being in his basement, sort of dirty basement, just working on me with Ray because I was going to purchase the company. But his positivity really shone through, and we're going to be fine. Just keep moving forward. And then it ended up working out. We had a better year than we did the year before. So there was no panic on my end. I made sure to family, friends. She was my girlfriend at the time, my wife. I was very positive. I was confident that we were going to push through. And I wanted to make sure that I maintained that sort of mindset throughout when COVID hit, because it was pretty scary at that time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it certainly was. Well, and I think that was the thing. Anything that you had going into this pandemic was only magnified. So if there was a level of positivity, the way that you rolled was positive, it was only going to flare into a positive way. But if it was negative, there was a chance it was going to get darker during that time.
Yeah, I agree that it amplified or brought out your true self, really.
Yeah.
I think money does that too.
Oh,
You
yeah.
kind of brings out your whatever side you have there anyway.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into the heart and soul, what you do on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of kids. They always get the truth out of us. They're 12 years old. It's career day. Kid in the back of the room is like, hey, what do you do for a living? How do you
Yeah.
answer them?
So I would say my passion is Ride the Wave Foundation. And what I do is I'm an executive director. So I manage this foundation. And what we're doing is our grand commitment is to build an all-inclusive, modern university style campus for people experiencing homelessness.
Okay.
And how are we going to get there? I have a podcast that's gone from 0 to 100K in 6 months. I wrote a book, Wavemaker. Wavemaker is a repurposed story of a real interaction I had with, his name was Daryl. He was homeless in a van. Knocked on the window to check on him. It changed my life. It's a repurposed story of that, plus principles to teach others how to do it or approach others on the street they normally wouldn't themselves. How to radiate positivity. Nerves are normal. Art of asking questions, just to name a few. There's 12
Okay.
principles. So really giving people the confidence to be able to do that. We're also going to fill in a gap of transportation to build trust within the community. We're working on what's called Project Dignity. Project Dignity is a lane we have in the community to create a modular home to test out Wavemaker mentorship principles, which are one-on-one, humane, sort of different ways. Like a wave mentor will only get one mentoree that they have to work with and befriend. So it's a unique, different model that we're trying to put forth, and we're really trying to create a place where somebody can go with all the resources because everything's so scattered around.
Yeah. That's wonderful, man. So what did you want to be at 12 years old? What was your dream job?
At 12, wow, that's some age like that, probably a police officer. I always
Yeah.
wanted to serve in some capacity at that age. I didn't Out of school, I was really kind of lost there. I didn't know what I want to do at odd jobs, but at that age, I probably wanted to serve in some capacity and protect people. So I would say a police officer probably at
Yeah.
12, something like
Well,
that. Yeah.
that was mine. It was watching
Yeah.
Chips as a kid.
Yeah.
Um, so let me ask you this. Take me back to your childhood. What were these foundational elements, the seeds that were planted into you to have this foundation, to have this business acumen? What were these things that were harvested that have eventually led to you finding your voice and your purpose?
Yeah, it's a good question. So for me, behind the scene, when no one was looking, a lot of times I self-developed. I would go into libraries on my own. Uh, Barnes and Nobles later on and just read a lot. I started out with Tony Robbins and I read The Power of Now, which kicked off a little bit of spiritual journey or discovery for me where I went on YouTube and, so I always had a curiosity per se. And I think that if you do that, if you look under the hood, if you journal, try to get to the bottom of who you are and seek your purpose, those things later do come to fruition and start to reveal themselves later if you put in the work early. And I think I did that without a lot of people knowing, even with all the insecurities and all the issues I had at that time.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Who has been that inspiration? Who's been that heroic force in your life for you to push and to become who you are?
My mom is the strongest woman, strongest person ever. Between myself, my stepfather Ralph, my Bill, my brother Bill, just pulling us out of the fire, at times and being a rock for our family. She was also a nurse, somebody that serves strong. So I would say that for me, having a strong woman in my life was really important. And Ray, my mentor Ray, who owned NCK equipment, we used to say when we were doing sales and everything was going well, you riding the wave? Yeah, you're riding the wave. So that was a part of how the concept came while I was developing that culture. So I'll always appreciate his influence on my life.
So who, if you could boil this down to somebody out there that has a really good business sense, but is also contributing like you are with your with your vision of taking care of the homeless, a nice hybrid. Who out there exists that you would like to meet, that you admire what they're doing?
Yeah, so some supporters already who have been pivotal for me pushing this. Damon West, if you go to damonwest.org, he is he wrote The Coffee Bean. It was co-signed by John Gordon, jongordon.com. They're in the empowerment development space under the umbrella of Tony Robbins. Tony's more hybrid, but like for example, John Gordon's first relationship was Dabo Sweeney, college ball from Clemson. So a lot in the NFL, a lot with major corporations. He's considered the third best speaker in the world. Flies under the radar in some cases, but they are supporters. Amy P. Kelly, who is a best-selling author and speaker, is we have a unique model there where I look up to people like Damon, who wrote the Coffee Bean, people like John, who have that model where they write books, they speak, they do podcasts. But we have that finger to the pulse, which is a bit unique, which is the homeless community there.
Yeah.
So sorry about that.
Oh yeah, no, you're good. So let me ask you this. What is it that gets you up every day to do all of this work, to do it to the best of your ability, but take care of yourself and your soul? What is that? Do you have a balance that you look at between personal and business? How does that work for you?
Yeah, sometimes it veers off. Sometimes it's something I think about all the time. It's constantly on my mind. Ever since Daryl hit, I would say that was the catalyst. Those who know the spirit, wave is the spirit. And that was hard. So it took me a year I was teetering off from that, but wrote the book in a year. So we were moving quickly. For me, I do have a morning routine. So when I'm on par, I get up early. I'm a Christian, so I read scripture. I also have brain games that I do, exercise certain things. So when I am disciplined on my routine, and I recently went on a vacation, came back with my wife, making sure that I'm taking breaks too. There's a
Yeah.
Korean spa that I like to go to that's not too far. So making sure I'm getting rest and recovery once in a while because I could pull all nighter sometimes and I could burn myself out. I have to be cautious of that for sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Best advice I ever gotten? Oh wow. That I have to think about that.
Okay. So
Yeah. Come back.
yeah, absolutely. We'll come back. We'll circle back. So let me ask you this. If you had a dream tonight, you ran into the 18-year-old version of you, and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the wisdom you've gained, what advice would you impart on that young version of you?
I would say that the confusion is temporary. It was a confusing time for me, and sticking with it and being as patient as possible. If I could, there's a lot of times where I had really good times and memories, and I regret not being in the moment more.
Yeah.
and my letting my mind be too focused on the future and developing myself a little bit more. I would
Yeah.
have done a lot less partying and things like that.
Yeah.
So I would have, I think, focused on my career and other things at that time at 19.
So, writing a book is not easy. It's a long process from start to finish. Talk to me a little bit about the idea of writing this book, then doing it, marketing, and how it feels right now.
Yeah, I thought years back, oh, maybe I would, or write a book, be on a podcast and mention to some friends, even with the show. Oh, here's some ideas, and no, 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 no. So being a writer it's an honor, and for it to be something this capacity, and for us to have a lane like this, I never thought it would be developed in this way. I feel like it's definitely God's grace, and the process for me was amazing. It was a way to connect to that spirit almost in a sense, and be in a state where it's actually my true self, and it came from a really good place originally. That's where it was formed. So it was an honor. It's great to release it. I had help through a company to get the cover going, get it self-published and all that. So just the experience and the fact that it's out. We have a kids book that's coming out, Wavemaker for
Well,
kids.
yeah,
We're also going to do Wavemaker for business because it's hybrid, and we're going to teach businesses a unique model as well.
right on. So let me ask you this. If you were to walk into a room of everybody that knows you in a business sense, and you got up to a podium in front of all these people and you could tell them a fun story about you, like first concert you went to, best game you've ever witnessed, jumping out of an airplane, one of the coolest, most magical places you've traveled to. If you could just tell them one fun story to humanize you a little bit, what would you tell that room?
Oh man, I don't know. I guess when I went to Spain and just decided to travel by myself, my friends weren't really around. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go to Barcelona by myself, and I just went on a plane and I went there. And the first thing I did was when I went on a bus, a tour bus, just to get the lay of the land. But it was beautiful. I really had a good time. I met so many amazing people. I would recommend it if people have it in them
Yeah.
to just travel alone one time and try to talk to as many people as
Uh-huh.
you can
I
and
did
do that.
I did that in Italy when I was in my early 20s,
Yeah.
where my ancestors were from, and I was the first in our generation to go back. And it is amazing, man, because you're on your own. You got to figure out the currency, you got to figure out the language, just
Yeah.
the whole thing. It's awesome though. I mean, because the things that you see and the cultural relevancy and the way that it opens your eye up to where you live, it's wild.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about somebody else. I mean, it's nice to have somebody with you too, but you're free to roam and go into places that I normally wouldn't with somebody else, maybe.
Yeah, it's awesome. So let me ask you this. Of everything that you've done and evolved to and accomplished in your life, what are you the proudest of?
I think the proudest I am is the work we're doing with Ride the Wave right now. I never thought, and this is just 3 years ago.
Yeah,
So 2000, June 2023, we were formed on paper. So it's really in hindsight not long ago. I didn't really have this in my vision or in my preview at just that long ago. So it is a blessing. It's an honor because I go to work with a purpose.
yeah,
I'm going, it's not just be with a cup of coffee sitting on my computer. I'm really serving. I used to be a go-getter, now I'm a go-giver, and it completely has changed my life. And I love it.
yeah.
It's definitely a challenge. It doesn't mean that there won't be, financial with the business and cash flow, now the market. It's always something, but it puts me in a position to have a foundation to push through those challenges because of what we're working on. And for that, it's a blessing. And I love what I do.
Well, if we look at things that are problematic in this country, one of the biggest issues is the homeless population.
Yeah.
And not only how to help them, but our knowledge base. Lots of people wouldn't go up to a van and knock on the window. It,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So there's a level of you that's doing something that's very key. So my question to you is this: how bad is the problem and how fixable is it?
Yeah, it's bad. People are, I think, unintentionally boxed in through a system. So, for example, there are homeless people in the Morristown community, that's our hub, New Jersey, where they are expected to be at an appointment for resources, whether it be paperwork, anything like that that could get them a home or anything like that. If they're not there, if they don't attend, they're going to miss out on those resources. The problem is there's no money and there's no transportation. So if you're hungry, if you're tired, if you're at a low state, low demeanor, and you can't get there, you're going to be denied that. Also, the hours of some places are not that good for them to go in and get food. Now, granted, there are some, and that's amazing, just not good hours. They have to wait 3 years to be on
Right.
a housing list, 2 to 3 years to be on a housing list. Now, what's happening is when they go into the woods or tents, they're being fined or asked to go to jail. So basically, what it
Wow.
is, and then the money they're getting, government assistance, is not enough because of inflation to pay for food. So basically, what it is the I think that these places, whether they be nonprofits and government facilities, they overlap each other. They're in these incubators separately, getting their own grants and things like that. There's a lot, not as much communication. So the university will be a one-stop shop utilizing principles like I've had through my growing up and experience, but servant leadership principles, how to be a go-giver, mental health strategies from a business perspective, budgeting, how to invest, how to give back, little things like that. Basically, that could teach them how to really be empowered and how to live life and not leave until they're feeling their best selves. So, Wave Transportation, if people go to our Facebook, they can see all our projects we're working on is to fill the transportation gap in between there and also to build trust in the community. The
Yeah.
problem is there's no trust. They give up. And I can't say that I blame them. If nobody cares about you and then they go to a park and they buy beer and drink, I may do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I really cannot blame. And the people that I'm meeting have such value. Our tagline is the path is to the person for a reason, is because the value is when you connect to somebody, that's the wave. That's wave maker. And then you ride that wave of learning about them. That's where the true knowledge comes from too, not computers.
What's been one of your best fan letters or responses that you've gotten from working in this foundation? A life you changed, a life you touched.
So this right here is was made for me recently. It's gonna be on the next show that I come out. This is from Cameroon, Africa,
Yeah.
and we're partnered with Ancilia Catholic College out of Cameroon, Africa. I met them through John Gordon's Energy Bus. We sponsored them, and the children made us this, and it was such an honor. You know, I cried when Sister Rosemary, her name is, gave it to me.
Yeah.
So that, and then Heather and Jose are two of our first wave riders in our mentorship program.
Yeah.
And the great thing is the principles are proven to work in the community. You know, radiate that positivity, being over somebody and being their friend and pushing them through that way.
Yeah.
You know, all the paperwork with them side by side. It's Heather and Jose. All right. So Heather, she was capable to work for a long time. We got her a job in 1 week. She's been looking for work for 3 years.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Man, I tell you what, that the fashion on that's wonderful. There's just a different vibe there. So that's beautiful, man. Is it heavy?
What's that?
The shirt.
No, yeah, it's not too bad actually. It's not that heavy. It's like a felt type material or like a yeah, it's nice. It's just, I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
And she is an amazing saint. If you saw some or if you go to Facebook, ANCIALL, I think, Catholic College, and the things that she does, and
Yeah.
she does not have to stay there. When we were driving in the car, she told me this riveting story. I'm going to help her with her book and also course, like a program,
Yeah.
just to assist because it needs to get out there in the world. I was edging my table. It was something else. How she saved, or the students got saved from this wildfire because there's so much war there. You know, the rebels are at war, and yeah, it's a very difficult what she has to deal with, but very inspiring though.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So
Yeah.
let me ask you this, Jeff. At the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, everyone that gets your book, everyone in the foundation, everyone you work with, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, you're right. I think everybody has a perception of somebody. my wife is going to view me as somebody completely different than
Yeah.
anybody else. But for me, I think I view myself as somebody who's driven, passionate about service, a servant leader, someone who wants to bring love and a child of a God, really, in my heart. I definitely, anything that I do around that is to work on my faith. Faith is where my fight is, my personal care. And then, I realize that I am where my legacy is. So, we definitely have a lane for that. And there's a part of me that definitely doesn't want to screw it up too. I want to make sure that I'm doing the proper things to stay in line with it. And yeah, it's an honor to be in a position to be able to work on something to this capacity. So,
Yeah. So if anyone wants to get involved with the Wave Foundation, they want to pick up a copy of the Wave book, they want to be in touch, they want to help any of the good business, where do they go in your world?
so the website's the best spot to go to. It's going to be overhauled, but if you go to www.ridethewave.org, everything's there. I'm going to be changing copy a little bit, but there's the formation, a little bit about the organization, and the podcast, the book, all that good stuff is all on there.
Okay, excellent. This has been very refreshing, Jeff. Thank you so much. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your work you're doing, and best of luck with everything. I appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
Looking to get new clients to your business through cold calling or email marketing? At Agency Y, they envision a world in which small and big companies have equal chances to win new customers in the market. Their purpose is to bring parity and reduce the gap between large and small firms with the help of their cold calling and cold email marketing services. Use the code Joe Dimino 10 at www.agencyyyy.org/coldcallingjoe.php or www.agencyyyy.org/emailmarketingjoe.php to get 10% off your first order. This is Joe Dimino of Neon Jazz and Famous Interviews, and I stand behind Agency Y to meet your business dreams.